Yes, life is indeed very real, and at the same time in quite a different way than most people's minds are trained to believe that it is real. Because we are trained to believe that this world is made of material, material objects, and that is the outside world, and we live as a kind of solid center, an I center in this body. And in this body are all kind of thoughts and feelings, and that creates an inner world. So we have an inner world and there is an outer world. An outer world that we have to relate to as this person that we are, this body. And why we experience it this way is because well, let's say first, when we go, and I like to invite you to explore that, because don't take anything for granted what I say, because then that would be just the next belief. So have your own experience. And when we explore or we try to find our I, this I that we think ourselves to be, then we cannot find it anywhere. Because our I is just a process, it's just a bunch of thoughts believed. And when we believe our thought, we feed it with what we truly are, and what we truly are is infinite consciousness. It is the eternal. It is life itself. And so we, by believing our thoughts, we feed our thoughts with life. That's the fuel. And by feeding our thoughts with life, our thoughts come alive, and then they create a certain reality, just as the reality that I just described, that we live in this body, and outside this body is the outside world that we then need to face and deal with, which can be quite intimidating. Well, when this spell breaks, when when this whole identification, this way of identifying with our beliefs and our feelings and with this body, when that drops away, then we experience our I to be a universal I. We experience to be life itself. We experience to be the world. And then it's like life is a kind of multi-dimensional movie, of which this body is also part of. And since we are the whole movie ourselves, we are the whole world, then the inner world and the outer world collapse into one. There's only one world. And yes, thoughts still arise, but we don't take them personal anymore. So when we come to the point of experiencing the universal I, that we are not this small I living in a body, but we are the universal I, then we discover that we share our I with everybody. Your I is my I, is the I of your neighbor, your colleague, your cat, all beings. And not as a concept or a metaphor, but really as direct as I say it. The I that you experience to be is the same I that I experience, just in another parcel. And so what this truly is about is that what is looking through your eyes, eternal consciousness, the universal I, or God, so you will, and I mean God as the force that life is, this intelligent, dynamic force, not the religious God, not the holy guy up in the sky. What we then experience is that God looks through all eyes of the world. our universal eye is God that looks through all eyes of the world. Human eyes, animal eyes, and whatever eyes, other eyes there may be. And in that way, it experiences life from infinite kind of angles. And knowing this to be true, to be real, because it is like waking up from a dream. That's why it's called waking up, spiritual awakening, because it is spirit that wakes up from this identification with this particular body mind. And what we then come to discover that we are this universal mind, and the world actually plays out in us. We are not in the world, but the world is in us. It is actually all the dream of God. God is dreaming this up, just like our personal dreams at night. You didn't go anywhere. You had all sorts of adventures, maybe, good dreams, bad dreams, but when you wake up in the morning, it turns out you didn't go anywhere. And that's the same with life as a dream, a very real dream. Because what you are, what looks through these eyes, hasn't gone anywhere. It never moved. Actually, nothing has ever happened. And that's the beauty of it. That's why the universe can be endlessly vast and big, because at the same time, it doesn't exist anywhere. It all exists only in the mind of God. And we all share that same mind. In this eternal, ever-changing now. Because that's what actually happens. So you look through these eyes into the world, and when you identify with this body, it seems that this body is moving through this world, but this body is part of this multidimensional movie. And you're just looking and feeling the world through this body. It is your avatar. So you are both, actually, it is the coming together of eternal consciousness and God and man. And by that, moving beyond those two. So now you know to be, and that's only if you experience it. So don't take this story, as a next concept. Because this is for real. This is what we can experience as human beings, and it is the longing, because it is the longing of eternal consciousness of God to experience that consciously, to know, um, to be that, to know to be eternal, and to know to be human at the same time. So it's the coming together of those two. And the beauty of that is that we have one foot out of life as eternal consciousness, and we have one foot in life as a human being. So, and in that way we are free from this life, because eternal consciousness is eternal and it's never going anywhere. And at the same time, we are bound to life as a human being. But the beauty of that is that once we know who, or better, what we truly are, we can give ourselves fully to life, just like what we call nature, because it's a bit silly, because nature is what we are as well, but referring to plants and trees and animals, since there is not this mechanism, this self-consciousness going on in those creations of life, then life can give itself freely and fully through these manifestations of life, whereas the human manifestation, as long as we are identified with this body mind, there is a certain resistance to life. And so, because the base of that is fear, because we started to believe that we are only this human being that has to survive life. And then fear arose, and then we try to manipulate life. So we cannot that's what we are, because once we know what we truly are, then we can give ourselves fully and freely to this human role that there is to play and to do the things um, this human is created to be doing. And for that, of course, we need our mind, we need our conditioned mind, the practical mind. But once beyond identification, we don't get identified with the thoughts and stories that arise. And it's also where our mind comes to peace and becomes more practical, and we start using the mind as our biological computer, as our toolbox, instead of being used by the mind. And so, yes, that is the invitation to discover what you truly are, that is forever free from this life. And in that way, life becomes less intimidating, especially with all the craziness and insanity and cruelty that is going on in the world, which can be cause of a lot of fear in people's life. So once we know we are life itself and we are free from life, then of course there are still challenges to live, because as a human, we have to face those challenges, but they become less intimidating. And that gives a feeling of space and relaxation and coming home to ourselves, and knowing that since we are life, since God is dreaming this life up, and our bodies are part of this dream, then we see and know that everything is saved already. You don't try to save the person you were in that dream at night. When you wake up in the morning, you find yourself okay in bed, and that's the same with life. And so the message is that you are forever whole and complete. And the invitation is to explore that for yourself, so you can give yourself freely to life and live as life itself. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the exploration. Bye-bye.